Hello, Scribblers. I'm Katie, the founder and CEO of the Scribblers Den, your online source for writing craft courses and writing community. We are back with amazing author Rosiee Thor, who's over there. Maybe they will be over there, but right now, over there. Rosiee Thor began their career as a storyteller by demanding to tell their mother bedtime stories instead of the other way around. They spent their childhood reading by flashlight in the closet until they came out as queer. Reading that out loud just has a totally different effect. I love this. Now they write stories for all ages, including young adult novels. Tarnished Are the Stars, Fire Becomes Her, The Picture Book, The Meaning of Pride, tie-in novels for franchises like Life is Strange and Firefly. Their short fiction appears in anthologies, including the Lambda Award-nominated Being Ace, and they are the editor of Why on Earth, an alien invasion anthology, and This Is How We Roll. Their debut cozy mystery, Dead and Breakfast, co-written with Kat Hillis, is out now from Berkeley Press. Rosiee lives in Oregon with a dog, two cats, an abundance of plants. They're also an amazing mentor, writer advocate, and have the best pun game in the publishing industry.
Thank you. That's the highest compliment. It's all I aspire to.
I love reading your books. I mean, obviously, I have a whole bunch behind me. I'm a huge fan, obviously, but also I kind of just read them for the puns. I mean, like I read them for everything else, but that's like this extra secret little thing, and I'm like, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one.
I'm
So
so glad. I'm so glad to hear
yeah,
that. Sometimes I'll be drafting and I realize that a scene is fully just scaffolding for a couple of puns that
fun.
I know I want to make. And I'm like, nothing else happens in this scene, but we did need that pun about
Yeah.
this thing. I'm glad that readers like it
Oh my
because
God, I
otherwise, what am
love
I
it.
doing here?
I love it. I love puns. I love dad jokes. Like give them to me all day long. They just
Same.
make me happy. It's my joy. So
I feel like a well-timed pun has that ability to kind of like punch a laugh out of you. And
yes.
yeah,
And it's like a groan. You're like, oh, that was so
yeah,
horrible. But also, you know what? That was really smart. I appreciate it
yeah,
so much.
yeah.
So you have published picture books through adult books, as well as contributing to and editing fantastic anthologies. Can you just kind of give us the highlights reel of how you came to be the writer that you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all starts with that reading in the closet when I was a kid. I actually my fun fact about that is that I had a like closet with doors on it, like sliding doors,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I took the doors off the closet and I moved my mattress into the closet and I slept in there. And then I put the doors back on and that way I could close the doors and turn on a flashlight and read, and my parents couldn't see the light coming from under the door. So I was able to stay up super late reading.
And they never noticed that your mattress like was no longer on your
Oh no,
bed.
they allowed me to do this. They helped me
Okay.
do it. They were like,
Okay.
"Yeah, sure." I passed it off as like if I move it in here, then there's more space in my
Yeah.
room for like a desk setup, and like they were all for it. And my mattress was in my closet all through high school.
That is
Middle
amazing.
school, I think I moved it in there in like fifth grade.
Wow.
And I just kept it in there and it was great. My dad built like a little bookshelf into the side of it so I could put my I had a this is
Your
how
flashlight
long
in your
ago it
books.
was. Well, no, I had a tape deck. That's how long ago this was. So I could listen to audiobooks on
Okay.
tape. And I had all of the like Tamora Pierce books on like physical tapes. And I would put them in and I
That's
would
so
listen to them at
cool.
night to help me fall asleep. And it was just like I
Wow.
had a very supportive family as far as like my interest in reading and writing.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, I've kind of like I feel like I kind of always knew that writing was something that I wanted to do. I liked coming up with stories. I liked being in control of the story. That was
Yeah.
like a big part of it. I was like, let me tell it. I know what should happen. I have ideas, you guys. But I didn't really realize that like being an author was a job that you could have
Mhm.
until I think I was in high school. A couple of things happened. The first thing is that I had a lot of artist friends who would, followed a lot of artists on like DeviantArt and stuff like that back in the day.
DeviantArt.
And I stumbled across a DeviantArt account for who is now the author Marie Lu.
Ooh.
And she had like art across like all of DeviantArt. She was an incredible artist. She still is an incredible artist. And I stumbled across her website where she had like little progress bars for her novels and stuff like that. And I started following her journey to publication. And that really like locked in for me that this is something that you can do with actionable steps. And then of course I wrote some really bad books and those went nowhere. Um, and then I wrote some slightly less bad books that still went nowhere. And I ended up writing my debut novel. I started working on that in college. I like was halfway to convincing my writing professor to let me write a novel as like a writing level 400 class.
Yeah.
And so I started working on it thinking that she was going to let me do this. And then she changed her mind and didn't want to do it. And so I stopped writing the book. And I came back to it the year after I graduated. I was in my like first corporate job and it was soul
Mm.
sucking and terrible. And no one at the job could tell me like what my actual duties were. And so I would spend hours with like a little notebook and a pen at my desk writing
That's
because we didn't
amazing.
have so weird. We weren't allowed to have access to the internet on our computers. We were all on an Ethernet.
Hmm.
And so I couldn't just like email myself stuff or like work
Yeah.
in Google Docs or anything like that. So I had to do it like super stealth mode, but I had to look busy so that no one would bother me or like think I wasn't doing work. So I wrote, I would say the majority of my of a book that will never see the light of day. But I did it was like a fantasy that again will never see the light
Mm.
of day. But I wrote most of it at work in like fancy, colorful gel pen on
Amazing.
like little tearaway pieces of paper.
On
Um,
company time. I love this.
yeah, yeah. You gotta find the time
As
where
you
you
should.
can, and yeah, just kind of sneak it in anytime. And yeah, so I ended up doing that. I went and wrote what would become the first draft of Tarnished Are the Stars, and it was terrible. It was weird. Um, very little of it remains.
Interesting.
Um, what now?
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I don't think
it
I
was a
realized
really
that.
weird, it was a weird like alternate history instead of sci-fi.
Hmm.
So it was like set with the divergence being the Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
And it didn't make any sense. The alternate history of it was not, it was nonsensical. It was just for the vibes. It was like, this is not serving the plot in any way
Mhm.
and is in fact like slightly troubling. Like it's like a little bit revisionist history. Like I was like, let's not do that. So after the first draft, I knew better and carried on. I guess like the next really big event in my like the highlights reel is I did a mentorship program. So I was mentored in Pitch Wars,
Mhm.
which is now defunct, sadly, by Lindsay Miller, who's wonderful.
Okay.
She's the author of Mask of Shadows, What We Devour, That Devil Ambition, which is my favorite of her books. Justice for That Devil Ambition. It deserves more hype. It's so cool. Um, anyway, she was great. She really like boot camp, like got me to understand like how to revise a book,
Hmm.
which I think is such a skill that we really, I think, don't talk about that much. Like it's
Do
all about
not.
getting the word count in. It's all about getting the pages in. It's like, no, once you finish the book, you still have the majority of the journey for the book to go.
Yeah.
So I did some very stressful rewriting of the book, um, during which I rewrote, I would say about 70% of the book
Wow.
in the course of 3 weeks. Uh, the second week of which was the 2016 election.
Oh God.
So I rewrote a good
Bless.
portion of it while crying, just absolutely
Yeah.
demolished emotionally and spiritually. It was bad. And I ended up getting an agent about 4 months later, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, went on submission, book sold about 6 months after that, and we were off to the races. So that's how I got where I am, and the rest of it is just doing more books. Do it all again.
Again and again and again. Yeah,
And
it is.
again
It
and
is just
again.
rinse, lather, repeat the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And rinse, lather, repeat, uh, with like new hangups.
Yes.
Like I feel like it should be easier the second time around because you've done it once and you
Hmm.
know the process. And yet my brain forgets how to write a book every single time. It's like
It does.
Right now,
Yeah.
I just turned in a book like a couple of weeks ago, and I just found out that I have another book that I need to write. And I am in the phase of if I wait too long, I'll have to like relearn how to write a book. But if I can get it in under the wire, if I can start working on it now and like get everything approved and do everything, maybe I can still hang on to that skill that I have from the last one.
That totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. I just struggle moving from like the drafting to like revision stage, which is never just like one revision. It's always
It's always like
multiple.
12, yeah.
Yeah. And then you get it really good and it's really polished and you're so happy with it. And then you have to go back to that beginning and you're like, what did I just write? This isn't even a sentence. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
I struggle with that. Yeah. I feel you.
It's hard and I'm in a place where like not not in my like this is not my preference, but it is my reality. I don't get the luxury of multiple drafts often.
Mhm. Yeah.
There are a lot of books I'm doing on really tight deadlines for like specific, they need to come out at specific times for marketing purposes alongside another thing.
Yeah.
So like for Life is Strange, it's like I have one of those coming out this year they're hoping to have it release alongside, I think it's like the Switch port or something for the game. And so it has to hit a certain deadline
Yes.
to hit certain marketing requirements. It's a whole thing. And you don't always get the benefit of like multiple drafts.
Mhm.
Sometimes the first draft you do is the draft that goes to copy edits, and it's just what you have to like live with. So,
Yeah, and that's something that I think always surprised me because as I got to know more published authors, I was always like, did a beta reader ever read this for them? And sometimes no,
sometimes no.
because
Yeah.
it just doesn't fit in that deadline. And that is wild to me because that's something that is told to like new authors. And as you're coming
Mhm.
up, like get other eyes on it, get opinions, like get that feedback. And then at one point,
Yeah.
sometimes you just can't, doesn't work.
It's the hardest part of doing property IP because
Hmm.
I'm under NDA. And so I can't share
Yeah,
the work with anyone. And it is such a
wild.
integral part of my process is having
Mhm.
somebody read as I'm writing. My co-author Kat often reads books for me
Yeah.
as I'm writing it. And it's so motivational and helpful to have that other person who knows your work and knows your strengths and weaknesses to be able
Hmm.
to say, this is working or you've taken a wrong turn.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have a couple of readers like that who will sometimes read for me chapter by chapter as I'm working through a project. Or Courtney Gould is an author who does a lot of that for
Yeah.
me. She reads most of my short fiction as I'm writing it, which is really helpful. And I do the same for her. It's very much like that kind of symbiotic relationship.
Mm.
But with my IP work, I can't do that without like breaking the law. I would be breaking a
Don't do that.
contract. So I have to be so careful
Yeah.
about that, and it's really difficult to stay motivated and to stay on track because I do worry. Like I usually get about halfway through a book before I go, this isn't anything. Like this isn't even a book. What am I doing here? And I need someone to come in and be like, no, it's a book. You're fine.
Yeah. You're okay. Like
But
half the head. You're gonna be
I
all
have to be that
right.
for myself when
Yeah.
I get there with these, and it's definitely tough.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay. We're gonna come back to IPs and things like that. Because I just learned something that I never thought of about IPs and that you wouldn't be able to share it. Um, I love this. I learned so many things.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do love about you is how passionate you are about fan fiction and about those fandoms. And I know it's a very integral part of so many other writers' journeys. You write fan fiction, you read fan fiction. What is it about that space that you find so alluring and welcoming and satisfying?
I think it's two completely different things as both a reader and a writer.
Mhm.
So as a reader, um, I will say like I go through phases. I go through phases where I don't touch AO3 for like months. And then I will go through phases where AO3 is like my lifeline. If I don't have it, we're in trouble. And that like literally yesterday AO3 was
Yeah.
down like it went down in the morning and then it came back for like 20 minutes in the middle of the day and then it went down again and I was suffering. I was really struggling. I was like, no, my emotional support blorbos. What do I do? So right now I am currently in a like deep dive, like heated rivalry
Mhm.
psychosis. I'm reading everything I can that's like a deleted scene from the show. I know I'm like uh, I just want to consume like these characters being goofy and silly with each other, and
Mhm.
that's so fun for me. In previous times I have had like my R flag means death fan
I
fiction
was just
phase
thinking
was
about that, like that whole phase. I
I
remember you
think
going
that was
through.
really troubling for everyone in my life. And everyone was really glad when I moved on. Everyone was like, okay, great, you can be normal again. And that was nice because I hadn't felt that like wild about a fandom since
Mhm.
I was like in my teenage years.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's very disconcerting for me. I don't go through like big hyperfixations often, and when I do, they're very all-consuming, and it's all I can think about, all I can do
Mhm.
in my free time. I become a different person, and it's troubling. Um, but as a fan fiction writer, the things that I find like really compelling about writing fan fiction, something that works really well for me, is the feedback. Um, or
Yeah.
the feedback timeline, I guess. I write something, I maybe have like one person read it before I put it up, make sure that it's like not terrible and doesn't have typos.
Mhm.
I throw it up online and I immediately start getting feedback. I immediately start getting reader responses. I
Yeah.
get comments, I get likes, whatever. And that fuels me. Like you get this immediate gratification of someone is reading my
Oh
work and
yeah.
they like it. And they don't have to spend any money on it, which is great. And it's just kind of this like validation of I have made something for the people who are like me and they feel seen by it. They like it.
Mhm.
And that's so powerful and so special. And often with like writing fiction for capitalism, as we do,
Yes.
writing books means that it takes years
Yours.
before anyone sees it who isn't me and my editor and my agent.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes it means waiting until, you know, the book starts coming out and you just have no idea what the reception is going to be. Like right now, I have my next anthology is coming out. It's the sequel to Being Ace, Being Arrow.
Hmm.
And we are starting to get like professional reviews are coming in. And we've gotten a couple starred reviews, and that's been really exciting because you never know what people are going to think. When you're
Yeah.
alone with the work, there's so much you can like your brain will generate worse criticism than anyone else in the world could
Yes,
possibly
it
think
will.
of. It's really wild. And then when it starts to resonate with people, you get that immediate feedback of like, oh, they like it. They feel seen by this.
Hmm.
This is somebody's favorite book. But with fan fiction, you get that immediately. And I really like that.
That
I
I
really
think
like the
would be
immediacy.
fantastic.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's, you know, it the other thing is with fiction that you're writing for publication, the general rule is that you don't go seeking out reviews. You don't read the reviews
Hmm.
because it's not really, those reviews aren't really for us. The
No.
professional reviews are. So like Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, School Library Journal, like those are for us. They are professional reviewers who are reviewing a book
Hmm.
and it is letting you know kind of where it's landing in the market. Is it landing with people who are gatekeepers in your industry, etc.
Right.
But I'm not really supposed to go on Goodreads and go look at
No.
reviews.
Never do that. Never do that.
Yeah, and I can tell a story about why, which is that, you know, there's many stories about why. But for me, I once saw a review, or it wasn't even a review. It was somebody I knew from Twitter, a
Hmm.
mutual, who was reading my book and was live tweeting their experience of it, and they didn't like it. And we followed each other. We were following each other on Twitter, and I just saw it in the wild. And it was this just absolutely gutting moment of like, not only does this
Wow.
person who I thought was like somebody, not like a friend, but it was someone who I liked their reviews. They
Hmm.
seemed to like my presence on the internet, and they were just absolutely slamming me online. And it wasn't like they were saying like, "Oh man, this is a bummer. I don't like it." They were like making fun of it. They were
Hmm.
like saying mean-spirited things, and we're getting engagement from that. And it just felt so devastating to me to run into that in the wild and experience
Yeah.
it. But I recognized, and then like 2 hours later, I got somebody posted a review and tagged me on Twitter. And it was like 5 stars. This book made me feel seen. I feel
Mhm.
amazing, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh, that's really nice. And immediately after, all I could think about was that thread of like
Of the
mean things.
negatives. Yeah.
It didn't matter to me anymore that somebody liked the book and resonated with it. All that mattered to me was this one person saying mean things who clearly wasn't my target audience.
Hmm.
And I realized that negative feedback sticks with me so much longer than positive feedback. I could get 10 positive reviews and one negative one, and the negative one is the one that's going to stick in my brain.
Yep.
So that for me is pretty like I don't go seeking out reviews because even if there's some really nice ones in there that would make my day, if I see even one negative one, it's possible that that will
Can't do it.
infect my brain and it will
Yep.
stop me from being able to create to my full potential for days.
Do you
So,
ever have somebody like curate reviews for you? Like somebody
um,
like a third party go on and be like, here's like five people who really loved your book and here's like how they complimented you and I put it in a Google Doc.
no, but I do that for authors in my anthologies.
Okay.
So if there are review, because I feel like a certain distance from the anthologies. I'm the
Mhm.
editor usually more than like the
Like
author.
the
I'm more the
creative. Yeah.
curator. Yeah, and I sometimes I have a story in there, but it's the ownership feels a little different.
Yeah.
And so I will sometimes go look at those reviews and find nice things that people have said about the different
Mhm.
stories in them and let those authors know so
Yeah.
that they don't have to go look at the reviews.
Yep.
But
Yeah. No, I think that
that's
sometimes that's
yeah.
important is to like have somebody who curates the good ones for you. Just
Yeah,
give you that feedback.
I think it would be nice. I don't have anyone who does that for me currently. I usually get tagged in
Mm.
some, and
Yeah.
they are more often than not positive.
Hmm.
I have only been tagged in a negative review, I think maybe twice.
Okay.
People complain about it all the time. I know that it happens to other people, but it has very
Yeah.
rarely happened to me.
I mean, I do feel that tagging an author like in a negative review is not good form.
It's
I'm
not.
a proponent of like if it's a positive review and you loved it, like tag away.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, even if it's like you liked it, but you have some critiques about it, even
Mhm.
then I'm like, you don't have to tag me in that
Yeah,
because those critiques, even if you gave it 5 stars and you were like, but I wish it did this, or you
yeah.
gave it four
It can
stars and you're
start to
like,
eat
but this
away
was
at you.
bad, that will
Yeah.
stick with me. And
Mhm.
the nice things you say about it won't,
Yeah.
unfortunately. It's just the way my brain works.
Same.
Um, and like at that point, the book is finished, it's published. I can't go back and edit it. There's nothing I can do to change it. That being said, for books that have sequels, I
Hmm.
will sometimes look a little bit to get a consensus of like, is there anything that they specifically want answered? Is there anything
Yeah.
that they specifically felt was like something that they would
Left
want
out or
more
missing.
of?
Yeah.
Um, and for those, I try to look at only the positive reviews because if you gave my book 2 stars and then I have a sequel coming out, the chances of you reading that sequel are really low.
Yeah.
So why would I
No, and you were
cater to
not the
you?
audience, so
I'm going
yeah.
to cater to the people who liked it.
Yep.
So, yeah. It is very much there's this sense of like, but shouldn't you want feedback as a writer? And it's like, yes, and I seek that out on my own with critique partners,
Yes.
with my editors. I have a lot of really smart writers in my corner who give me
Mhm.
really, really great advice. And even if, random user number 8 is a really great editor, they're not currently my editor. And
Right.
so there's not anything I can do with that. And, great, but you should be your reviews should be reader facing, not author facing.
Yeah.
The
Well said.
audience, and not just because I can't do anything with it, but because there's only one of me and
Mhm.
there's lots of readers. So why wouldn't you chase the bigger audience?
Right. Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And it is like you're gonna find that feedback from those specific people. Like I have my people that they're my
Yeah.
go-tos. I don't go to this like random like, hey, what do you think?
Yeah. I have go-tos that I have, and then I also have like a wider network of people
Yes.
that I can ask if my go-tos aren't available, or
Mhm.
if,
Or just to get that really outside perspective
yeah,
that's
sometimes I
not
will ask.
in your head.
Yeah, sometimes I'll
Yep.
ask for a perspective from someone who writes a different genre just
Hmm.
to get a better sense of like,
Yeah.
hey, is this working?
Yeah. No, that's so
Totally.
smart. So we started out talking about fan fiction.
Yeah.
Somehow we got into reviews.
Who knows?
Um, but I'm going to ask kind of like a small follow-up that will then also, I think, lead up into the next question, which is um, how has fan fiction kind of in writing, being in those spaces, helped you to write some of the IPs that you've done?
Ooh. So I think that I will say like I think there's a misconception about fan fiction to IP pipeline.
Hmm.
And I really think it's that it doesn't exist. There's a little bit of like fan fiction to like original serial numbers filed off,
Okay.
pipeline that we see in publishing, but very rarely do you see someone get discovered from their fan fiction and
Mhm.
then given a publishing deal. And so all of my work, like I have not publicly or privately written fan fiction for the fandoms that I'm writing for
Mhm.
professionally. Um, they were, areas that I was very passionate about, but I wasn't actively writing in those areas. It's not like somebody found my fan fiction and was like, "Wow, your characterization was incredible. Why don't you write the book?"
Yeah.
So they don't have like a direct tie, but I
Mhm.
do think that writing fan fiction was useful. That my knowledge of fan fiction,
Yeah.
really, honestly, it's my knowledge of fandom that's more important. I understand how fandom works. I understand how people within a fandom can have interpretations of characters that are not aligned with the canon media.
Mhm.
There's a really odd, I guess not odd, there's a really pervasive sense of ownership within fandom sometimes,
Yeah.
where readers they will become, it becomes a transformative work. Um, when you move from loving the media that exists to creating or reading or any of that within content that's created by fans,
Mhm.
it's a transformative work. It's not canon, but to a lot of readers or consumers, it can feel canon.
Yes.
And I will give an example of this. I'm deep in the heated rivalry abyss. And so is my partner. And we were driving somewhere and arguing about something that happens in in the story. We were arguing about certain events and whether or not they happened in a certain way. And it turns out that we were both wrong about the events because we had both read two different fan fictions that talked about the events in different ways, and that in the canon, that event doesn't, it occurs off page.
That's amazing.
And we both rewritten our brains had rewritten
Yeah.
the events to correlate with these fan fictions because there was this blank space in our brains because it
Mhm.
doesn't happen in the book or in the show. It's like there's this off-page thing that happens and it gets mentioned as having happened, but we don't see it. And so we both did that, and it was very strange. But I think that often readers of fan fiction can be like that. They can take
Mhm.
things that happen in fandom and apply them to their own personal headcanon. And I think that's the beauty of fan fiction, right?
Yes.
It's like you get to do whatever you want with this now. It's your own little playground, and like you can mess around in the sandbox and it's nobody's gonna get hurt. It's awesome. But when you're writing for fandom, you have to know that there are things that the fandom will be mad about. There are
Yes.
things that the fandom at large kind of agrees upon. And you can't always give everyone everything that they want. But you can at the very least be aware of those things and try not to like write them out of possibility.
Okay.
This is not a fandom that I write for at all or anything, but my best friend is really obsessed with Trigun. And the fandom has largely agreed that Vash is trans in the new version of Trigun, and I agree. But it's one of those things where like it's never going to be canonized by
Mhm.
the actual anime or by the manga, but it is this kind of fandom moment that people
Yeah.
kind of think about this. And not everyone will agree with it, but if I was ever asked to write for that fandom, which I would highly doubt I ever will,
Mhm.
that would be something that I would be really careful to work around. I
Right.
wouldn't want to write it out of existence. I wouldn't want to like show up and say like, here's Vash and his genitalia that he's had since birth. Like, I'm
Right.
not gonna do that. Um, if only because that's bad writing. But but I'm not gonna do it because I know that there's a vocal subset of the fandom that
Mhm.
really cares about that. And it would really disappoint them to have that
Yes.
blatantly written out of possibility.
Yeah.
Now, there's minefields like that in every fandom. And so you want to be really careful not to completely obliterate something that might be a closely held headcanon
Right.
for a fandom where they might get a little bit up in arms if you did something with it.
Yeah, no, that
That
makes
being
sense.
said,
Yeah.
within fandoms, there are always going to be groups of people who disagree about things like that. So there are going to be people who all really headcanon this one thing, and there's
Mhm.
going to be groups of people who headcanon something different. And it's my job as the writer to navigate that in a way that feels respectful.
Yeah. And that is
So
tough.
Yeah. So I really think that that's the biggest thing for me is I've learned a lot about fandom. I've learned a lot about those spaces and the
Mhm.
people who are likely to interact with the work that I'm creating for those IPs. Um, and just kind of trying to navigate around that in a way that feels authentic, respectful, and um, I at the end of the day, I'm one of them, you know?
Yeah.
This could not be more true than with the Firefly book that I did. I
Mhm.
have been a Firefly fan since I was like 12 years old. It was my first fandom love. It was the first thing I was ever obsessed with, like beyond the point of like,
Completely understandable. Yes.
yeah, like I think it was Tamora Pierce's Tortal books in like sixth grade, and then immediately after that it was Firefly. And I became the kind of
Which
person who
feels
was,
like you were far too young to be watching Firefly, but
yeah,
also like I love it.
yeah. It just, it is what it is. I
Yeah.
I got the DVDs and I found all the little
Mhm.
Easter eggs on the DVDs and all that. And it was one of those things that was like this was the first time I had really been able to see like between Firefly and the extended edition Lord of the Rings DVDs. I was like my curiosity about behind the scenes is really being met.
Yes.
And it was really cool. And so, yeah, for me, Firefly was like one of those things that it made me into a sci-fi fan. It made
Mhm.
me love Westerns,
Yes.
which I still love to this day. And it's so it was so special to me to get to work in that world.
Yes.
Um, and I want everyone who reads that book to know the second they start reading it that the person who wrote it really loves the source material,
Yeah.
that I have a great deal of just absolute respect for what we're working with.
hmm
And
You're
I'm
not going to
not
like
out
break those
to,
rules or change things.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I am aware of critiques of the series and
Yeah.
some of them I agree with. And, it was really important to me when writing the book that I bring a level of understanding and respect for the source
hmm
material while also, um, you know, doing my own thing with it.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to feel like a Rosiee Thor book the way that some of my other books are like very much a part of me, but
Mhm.
I didn't want it to feel divorced from my
No.
sensibilities either. I didn't want someone to go to it and read it and go, "Wow, this is like really weird and different from your normal stuff." I wanted
Yeah.
them to go to it and go, "Oh no, I see who wrote this,"
Yeah.
but not feel like it was outside the scope of Firefly. And I really wanted fans of the show to come to it and go, this writer is also a fan.
Yeah.
And that has
No,
very
and
much
I
been,
think you accomplished that.
thank you.
Like both that and with the Life is Strange novel, like it's like as I read, I'm like, oh, this is definitely Rosie. But it also had all those, and I'm more familiar with Firefly. The only thing I know about Life is Strange is your novel. That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
it.
the book is very easily read outside of the scope of the
Yeah, I
games.
had no
It's
problems. I was like,
Yeah,
I enjoyed the story a lot. Um,
great. I'm
so
so
yeah,
glad.
so I
Yeah,
read it
it's
as somebody who knows
one of my
nothing
best
about it.
friends. It's one of my best friend's favorite of my books, and she
Yeah,
has never played Life is Strange.
I can
And
see that.
so
I can
I
see
was
that
like,
because there are
great,
some
I'll
parts
take
in
it.
there that just like, and I feel like that is something that you do so well is just like you put in these moments and these scenes or these conversations that just like smack you in the heart, but in the best way, and
Oh,
then it like reverberates and it just kind of like I don't know, it re-energizes me in the weird like the strangest way. I don't understand it, but whenever I read anything by you, I'm like, there it is, there's that moment, and I
those
feel
are my favorite moments to
seen.
write. I really love there's these like emotional conversations and there's sometimes
Yes.
they're about identity.
hmm
Um Usually it's something to do with a character processing events or processing emotions that they haven't known what to do with for most of the story. And I really enjoy the moment when it kind of all clicks for them and they go, "Oh, this is where I fit into the world," or "This is where I fit into this relationship. This is where I fit into this conversation." And those are really cathartic for me to write, and it's usually what I'm building toward.
Yeah.
Um,
Very
there's
cathartic
always
to
whenever
read as
I
somebody
sit
with
down to
like,
like,
yes, like deep
yeah.
suppressed emotions. I'm all of a sudden like, oh my God, yeah, this is what I've been trying to say for the past 44 years of my life. Thank you for putting it into words.
Oh. I'm
Yeah.
so glad that they come through like that. Yeah, it's really those are the scenes that like I always write a synopsis before I start writing
Mhm.
a book. And the synopsis is always super long because I've never done anything short-winded in my life. Um, and it's very much like a map of the emotional journey.
Yeah.
It's not just like I know for like querying purposes, we often get told to write like a one-page synopsis.
Yes, which is horrible.
And
I'm there now.
that's
I
the
hate
most
it.
that's the most useless document in the world to me.
Yes.
A one-page synopsis does nothing for me as a writer, but
No.
it also did nothing for me as a reader when I was reading Slush. I used to work for an agent, and the one-page synopsis, I would look at it and I would always just kind of go, "Huh?" and be like,
Yep.
"Well, whatever. Surely there's
Cool.
something here." Like, I would never get anything out of it that was helpful
Yeah.
to me. Sometimes it would tell me if the book was like heading in a direction that made any sense.
Mhm.
But it wasn't going to tell me anything that I really wanted to know, which is like, are the characters interesting? Is the voice fun? Like that wasn't ever something that
Yeah.
was helpful. So I once had an editor ask me to write a synopsis and was like 1 or 2 pages at most. And I was just like, I sat down to write it and I was like, I'm not going to worry about page count right now. I'm just going to write it out for myself.
Mhm.
And at the end of it, it was, I think, like 10 pages.
Which makes
And
so
I
much
just
more sense.
went, I can't trim this down to 2. This can't be trimmed. I'd have to start over. And that book did not ever see the light of day because I never wanted to do that, and I was just went, nah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, these days I tend to write synopses. They tend to be about 5-ish pages, um, sometimes longer, but they really are all about like what's the shape of the story, what's the scaffolding
Yeah.
around these emotional beats that I know I want to hit.
Yeah. No, I hate the short synopsis. I can't.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's the worst. I don't know why anyone asks for them.
Like I read it for my own stories and I'm like, this doesn't even feel like the same book. I think that this is not something that I wrote. I don't know.
It's just, they're just bad.
Yeah.
They're not useful.
No, not at all.
Agents, stop asking people for them.
Agreed. So if you haven't already guessed, and I know that you have, I'm a huge fan of your writing. I love your books. Fire Becomes Her, which is back here, right, on my shelf, is I think my favorite of everything that you have written that I have read. And it really did. It spoke to something in my soul, and I have reread it several times. I actually have 3 copies.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
because I think I have the copy that you sent me that was like signed and autographed.
Yeah.
And I have another copy that's got like sticky tabs and notes and handwritten
Oh,
things.
cool.
Um, and then I just have another copy that is just like the untouched one.
Mm.
As this is how I function.
I mean, that's
It'll
cool. Yeah.
support Rosie Thor
I
books.
I have many copies of it, obviously, for
Yes.
my own purposes. But I have one, I don't know if you can see it right here
Yes.
on my shelf that has like fire and night sky painted on the edges.
Ooh.
It's really pretty.
Yeah.
So I have one that's like fancy sprayed edge version, and then I have the UK edition that's a paperback where the little sparkles on her dress are all gold foil.
Ooh. All
It's very
right.
pretty.
New goal. I'm gonna have to find that
It's
one.
very pretty, and I'm really mad that the US version didn't do that because it would have been
Yeah.
so cool.
It would have been. I agree.
Mhm.
In all of your books, every single one, you're just a master at crafting characters. And this was something that I really took to heart when I was mentored by you as well. Like
Mhm.
I learned so much more about getting into my characters. And you make characters that just feel like they could walk right off the page and into real life. And I love that. So how did you learn to do this? And can you give us like some tips for creating characters that readers will fall in love with?
So this is
A complicated
it's so,
question.
yeah. No, it's a good question. I wish I had like a really good answer, but I feel like most of the time the characters are like that's the story that I'm telling.
Mhm.
I'm finding out who the characters are, and they're finding out who they are. And so the story that I'm telling is really predicated on what kind of character is this going to
Yeah.
be, and where are they going? So I don't do like character sketches where I'm like, they're a Pisces and they like lipstick. You know, like I don't have that kind of like I don't do like a likes and dislikes kind of like
Mhm.
I don't do character exercises like that. What I tend to do is I will often start at a point, like start with character.
Okay.
And I'll go, here's a couple character moments that I'm excited about. Or here's, like in the case of Dead and Breakfast, here are some jokes I'm excited about. With Fire Becomes Her, Ingrid was the focal point of the story. It's all about her.
Yes.
Um, and I knew that it was really about her journey to like self-acceptance, but also her journey to understanding her role in the larger world and
Mhm.
what role she wanted to play in the larger world and what creature comforts she might have to give up in order to impact the world in the way that she wanted to. And so I built it out from there. I was like, okay, so what do I need her to be like at the beginning
Mhm.
in order to make that arc interesting? So I knew that I wanted her to end up where she ends up, and I will leave that because I don't want to spoil things too much.
It's really
Um,
cool.
so I wanted to swing wildly the other way and go, okay, so where is she starting? She's starting with a lot of things she doesn't actually want. She's
Mhm.
chasing something she doesn't actually want because she feels like that's the only way to get the other things that she wants.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, Fire Becomes Her is about a girl who is kind of from the wrong side of the tracks. She has grown up in poverty. Her dad is in prison, but she goes to an elite boarding school and is in love with the son of the guy running for president. Um, didn't mean it to be so
On the
pretentious.
nose, but
Yeah, but that's what's happening.
yeah.
Her boyfriend's dad is running for president, and she has this idea that if she can get her boyfriend to like marry her, then she'll be set for life and that she can impact the political sphere. But her boyfriend's dad doesn't want her in the family. He's like, no, you're the wrong type. The boyfriend is lovely. He's really trying his best.
Yeah, he is.
And yeah, and so she ends up in this situation where she's trying really hard to prove herself to this man that she doesn't really respect in order to gain societal privilege
Mhm.
that she doesn't really want, to be with a guy that she doesn't actually want to be with. And it's this whole kind of House of Cards, bad perhaps reference. I didn't mean like in the show, just like the saying. But it is this like weird House of Cards that she's built for herself of this lie that she's telling about who she is and what she wants. She's telling it to herself. But in order to keep that lie working for her, she has to build on it until she's created this really precarious situation where she's chasing a bunch of stuff that doesn't actually make sense for her. And so I knew that I needed to like build this weird sort of like what happens when it all crumbles down, you know? And so I knew where I needed her to start. And that really helps me is to figure out where are they going?
Mhm.
What's the emotional resolution that I'm excited to build toward and what serves that most? Where can I put her that
Mhm.
will make her journey there the most interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I do. The other thing that I do, and I do this more now than I used to, but I feel like I really like to have character dynamics, like relationship dynamics are
Mhm.
really helpful for me. A character on their own is often not super interesting, but a character with the right foil, with the right
Yes.
best friend, with the right love interest can be really magnetic. And so I
100%.
like to identify types of character dynamics that I find interesting. And one that keeps showing up in a lot of my books, not all of them, but a lot of them, is the dynamic of like a really competent woman, usually a lesbian, really competent, and her idiot best friend. Like idiot, just absolute himbo
Yeah.
sidekick. And it doesn't show up like exactly like it in every book, but like in
Mhm.
Tarnished Are the Stars, we have Eliza and Anna, who are these really hyper competent women. And we have Nathaniel, who's like kind of he's just kind of struggling, man.
He is. He's going
I
through it.
wouldn't say he's like a himbo, but he is like he's there.
Yep.
And then, I really enjoy that. And I'm working on a project now with like a very hyper competent lady knight. And she has a companion with her who is like so stupid. It's like he like
He's
uses the
adorable.
wrong side of his sword to cut stuff and like doesn't know what he's doing. And I really love that dynamic. I really like I guess they call it like the warrior and the noble steed.
Mhm.
It's a very like The Witcher,
Yes. Oh yeah, with
Geralt and
oh my
uh
God. Yeah.
Dandelion.
Yeah. I'm like
I don't know what his name is in the show. I
Jaspier.
can't remember.
I can't do it right now.
But like that vibe, I
Yes.
love it when like one of them is like very serious and smart and accomplished, and one of them is like
Yeah.
a silly little guy.
Yeah. I do love it. It's like the whole odd couple vibe. Like whenever
Yeah.
I can watch something that has two characters that are just like complete opposites and then how they wreck each other's lives because they're trying to
Yes.
like just be helpful. And
Yes.
it's
And
wrong. I
that's
love
really
it.
like
Yeah.
with Dead and Breakfast, Kat and I really leaned into that. Arthur and Sal are our main characters, and they're a married couple. And
Mhm.
Arthur is like very competent, very straight. He's very organized. He's not in terms of sexuality, but he's the straight man. You know, he's very
Yeah.
much like he logics through things very clearly. And Sal is very dramatic and flamboyant, and he's really passionate about things. And they work because they balance each other really well, and because they each bring out qualities in the other that they wouldn't necessarily have found on their own. And that's really fun, but it means that their dynamic when they're dealing with like high stress situations is very fun because they're kind of needling each other, but also like they're married. They love
Yeah.
each other. They don't want to ruin each other's vibes. Like they're like, yes, this is who you are, and I want you to be yourself, but also could you stop for a minute, you know?
Yes.
And
Which is
so
what true
it's
love
very
is.
fun.
Yeah.
It's a very fun dynamic to play with. Um,
It
and to
creates
really
like
like
that
dig
base
deep.
tension and conflict that then you can build
Yeah.
from and yeah.
Yeah. And I think that for me, like the key is always finding the authenticity within it.
Mhm.
You know, you can have that dynamic on its base level. This is where I'm like with like romance tropes and things like that. They don't tell me very much. Like enemies to lovers doesn't tell me very much because I don't understand. I don't know what's the dynamic. You know, what is
Mhm.
that? Why are they enemies? And what is it that changes that makes them lovers? You know, what is it that's exciting about that? That's
Yeah.
unique and authentic and deep rather than just like a surface level trope. So I'm always looking for what kind of relationship dynamic or trope can I use as like a baseline, and then
Mhm.
how can I get some kind of authenticity out of it? I want to make it feel like more than just a marketing tactic, you know, or
Yes.
more than just like a trope graphic. I want it to feel like this is the only way these two people could possibly function. And not to like bring it around again to heated rivalry, but like this is a
Please
really
do.
good example because
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, the characters from that they are rivals and then obviously also lovers, and
Mhm.
it does feel to me like this is the way that their characters were meant to exist. And
Yes.
without that rivalry, we don't have them challenging each other. We don't have them respecting each other on the level that
Mhm.
they do and watching each other and having this very specific, you are the person who everyone is pitting me against. Like there isn't that interest without that. If they're just two guys playing hockey who like end up on the same team and they're like, hey, we're both pretty good at this,
Yeah.
it doesn't have that same spark. And like, maybe it'll still work out. I'm sure the fandom is like in every world they get together. But you know,
Yeah.
there's this authenticity to that element that I think is
Yes.
really special. So that's what I'm always looking for is like how can I dig into more than just the surface level of the dynamic I've chosen.
No, that makes sense. That is all excellent advice. Like again, there it is,
Great.
Scribblers, your master class in character development from Rosiee Thor. So speaking of mentees, you have been collecting writer mentees for a while now. Like you have a whole stable of us,
I think I
right?
have 11.
Yeah. I feel like I can speak for the group in saying how absolutely meaningful that experience has been, like not even just to our writing and how much our craft has improved, but just our sense of writing community. So you talked about having your own mentor when you first kind of started, and that was through Pitch Wars. Is that kind of what pushed you then towards becoming a mentor yourself, or did you just say, I want to do this and I want to experience it? Like, how did you become a mentor?
Yeah. Well, I was a mentee and it was transformative. It
Mhm.
really changed my life. It is I credit that with my success for sure. Without that program, without Lindsay, I don't know that I would be here today. Like the way that Lindsay leveled up my writing during that process was unbelievably like it was huge. The book
Yeah.
that I submitted to that is barely recognizable to the published version.
Mhm.
Um, the differences are staggering. She really challenged me to understand my characters on that deeper level. Um, she was actually someone who really helped me learn about character dynamics.
Mhm.
Before that, I had never considered like what tropes do my characters connect to. I had never even thought about it. And she really like distilled it down and was like, this is what you're doing. And I did not know that that was what I was doing.
Mhm.
So there's a lot that I learned there from Lindsay, and more than just teaching me to be a better writer, the program taught me how to revise on a schedule. It is the most stressful deadline I've ever had to this day, and it didn't even count. It did not matter.
Yeah.
Um, real publishing deadlines have been kinder to me than that was. And I really think that helped prepare me for the industry in a really
Mhm.
like kind of intensive way. I'm not
Yeah.
sure that it was healthy, but it happened. So here we are.
Pitch Force was absolutely amazing, but I do feel like it was way more stressful than actual publishing.
Well, they do this whole like you have like 2 or 3 months with your mentor
Yeah.
to revise the book, and the
Mhm.
reality is that you need to revise it twice
Yeah.
before it can go out because the revision that you do is going to create new problems, and you need to do a second revision.
Yes.
And that was what happened to me is I rewrote the book and I did not rewrite it well enough. It
Mhm.
was I took some of the feedback and not all of it. I remember the most gutting piece of feedback I ever received was from Lindsay, and she was right. But she said, "Did you not do the edits on purpose?" It was like it wasn't even like it was. She's. I think she said, "Did you not understand the edits, or did you not agree with them?" And I had to be like, "Oh no, like this is bad."
Yeah.
And it was absolutely gutting. And I just remember being like, "This person hates me." And
I
she
could see how
doesn't.
you
We're
would get there.
still
Yeah.
we're still close friends to this day. I'm reading one of her books right now. Like we are critique partners now.
Yeah.
We are very much peers, and I'm sure there were moments of frustration for her with me, but we lived. But that process was just so change. It changed me so much, and I knew that I wanted to give back.
Mhm.
I wanted to give that experience to someone else. And I didn't do Pitch Wars that next year. I did a different program that I think is now also defunct. Um,
I
and
think
it didn't
Rev
have
Pit
that
is the only
same.
one that's definitely still going on.
Which one?
Rev Pit?
Yeah, Rev Pit I think is
Yeah.
still going on. And now there's like right table mentor. I don't know.
Cool.
Round table mentor. I don't know. Something like that. I don't know what they are. But yeah, the one that I did was it's now defunct, but it did I think like 9 rounds
Mhm.
before it ended. And I did I think 4 of them.
Was that
Um,
author mentor match?
yeah, it was author
Okay.
mentor match. I don't really remember how many I did as a mentor versus I was behind the scenes helping
Mhm.
with like a lot of the back end stuff for a couple of years.
I feel like you must have
Um,
done quite a few because you do have 11 of us.
yeah, but I think only 4
Yeah.
came. mm,
I came from Queer Kidlit.
five came from author mentor match, but 2 were in the same round. So yeah, so I did author mentor match a few times, a lot of times. A couple of those times were not on purpose.
Hmm.
A couple of those times were I'm not gonna do it, it's fine. And then people would submit stuff to the inbox for
Yeah.
other mentors and they wouldn't pick them. And I would go, but wait, I like this. I'll pick it. I'll be a mentor again.
Yeah.
So a couple of times that happened. But I did, let's see, I did the one that you were in,
Yeah.
and
And
I
you got
and I
two
took
of us.
two.
Yeah.
I took 2 mentees from that. I did a teen
Yes.
one that was like a teen. I did a couple of teen mentorship ones. And then I did Pitch Wars once
Mhm.
in its last year. So I think there's 11. There might be 12. I don't know.
Can't keep track
Um,
anymore.
well, a few of them are not active.
Yeah.
Some of them have kind of dropped off the face of the earth. I don't know where they're at. I hope they're okay. I've sent emails to check in sometimes and I haven't
Mm.
heard back. But they that happens. Sometimes things happen. But for the most part, the active ones of the active ones, I think there's 5, maybe 6.
I don't know, there were 6 of us in the chat the other day.
Yes, but one of them is a grand mentee.
Yes.
Yes.
And there were like
The
two
wonderful
people.
Ellen Many,
Yes.
who I believe Emily shouted out on hers, Emily
Yes.
Gray. Yeah. So yeah, Ellen is a grand mentee. I'm very proud. And yeah, so it's been really cool getting to watch my mentees kind of fly the nest. I feel like everyone has sort of like taken on new projects and taken like
Yeah.
really cool turns. Like some have agents. I have two that have book deals. So that's Kaylee has The Last Love Song. She was my Teen Pit mentee. I'm really proud of her. I mentored her when she was like 15, and I have nothing to do with this book. Other people stepped in and mentored her for that, but I'm still very proud.
You laid the
Um,
groundwork.
and then and then Kat, my co-author, has other books slated as well, and I'm very excited about that. And you have this very cool thing with Scribblers Den. Yeah, it's been really cool to just kind of see how people are taking that advice and rolling with it.
Yeah.
There's a couple who are still, I think, querying.
Me.
And yeah, yeah.
I'm still there.
Um, it is the query trenches are hell, and I empathize.
Yeah. No, and I still think about like when you were reading through the novel that I had submitted to you, there was the line like some little scene there where my character was eating pie and you're like, I
Mhm.
want you to write 600 words about this moment when she's deciding which flavor of pie she wants. And I'm like,
Sometimes you gotta pick those
what the
weird
heck?
moments.
Like, all
Yeah.
right, Rosie, whatever. And I did it because I'm like, I wanted to do whatever you were telling me to do because obviously, like, you know something, like, um,
Maybe I just like pie.
which fair. And I wrote that and it has changed something like in me like neurological level that now I go into it and I'm like, okay, is this a pie moment where I have to
Yeah.
slow down and give, not because even after like I gave it to you, I remember you were like, okay, this is really good. Now I want you to cut this down to like 100 words. And I'm like, why
Yeah.
did you make me write 600 and now it can only be 100? I was like mad in the back of my
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
But it
Yeah, no, it
taught me
was
so much. And just so now, like I said, I go through, I'm like, oh, is this a pie moment? And I'm like, yes, it is. And then I can do that and put it in for the character. So thank you.
yeah. I think I love that because I think a pie moment really
Yeah.
encapsulates what I was trying to get at, which is
Yeah.
that sometimes you have to savor a moment.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to savor it a little bit. And it doesn't have to be like super long,
No,
but and sometimes 600 words is like too much to do with just pie,
it was.
But sometimes you have to write the 600 words to know what you want to say about the
Yeah.
pie. And then you can distill it down to 200, 300.
Yeah.
And
No
then
word is
it's
ever wasted because you're gonna get there.
yeah,
And it was an exercise I needed at that time. And you were so good with that. You're like, this is exactly what you need to do. And
it's writing exercises are such a goofy thing because
yes,
I think the where I'm at in my career, I feel like work that will not be part of a published novel feels wasted to me.
yes. It's
If
not.
I'm gonna sit down and do a little writing exercise, like that doesn't feel like real work to me. That feels like something apart.
Yes.
But I have done some of my best writing when I'm faced with a little challenge.
Hmm.
I love a little challenge. I love a puzzle. And I did this once for a class that I was teaching. And I
Yeah.
was teaching the class on like using the senses within description and using all of the senses to communicate the vibe of like what's going on
Mhm.
without actually saying what's going on. And I needed to write an example so that I could be like, see, here's how it works. And I was like, oh no. And I ended up writing this scene that was like maybe 200 words long. It was less than a page. And it was about a woman who is at a diner waiting for her husband to show up so that he will sign the divorce papers. And at no point do I say any of that. I'm just describing what's going on, what she's hearing, what she's seeing through this lens of nervousness and bitterness. And
Hmm.
then when he leaves, like that changes because he's signed the papers and she's free. And it was some of the best writing I've ever done. And it's
Yeah.
never going to see the light of day because when am I ever going to write a book about this woman getting a divorce sitting in like an old like crappy diner? Like that's not I'm not going to write that book.
No.
But it was so fun. And I felt like I learned something that day about like from my own
Yes.
writing class. And so I think what we need to remember is that learning about your writing doesn't always produce results that you can use, but it will always produce learning. Like,
Yes. It's a skill. You're learning more
yeah,
about
you're
your
learning a
process.
skill,
Yes.
and the piece that you produce by learning the skill may not be useful, but the skill will be.
Yes.
And that's something that I try to remember that like when I'm not on deadline, I will
Hmm.
try to look up like what's a writing exercise that I could do
Yeah.
and see what happens. Just be like, write 300 words on this topic and like see what happens. And I think that's a really fun way to engage with your writing without f feeling the pressure
It
of
is.
this has to be published.
Yeah. No, that is all wonderful, wonderful advice.
Yeah.
Again, masterclass right here. So speaking of writing, I'm always fascinated by people who co-write books because I just don't know how, like the logic part of me is like, how do you do that? So what was that process like working with Kat to write Dead and Breakfast and then also then the follow-up Summer Coven?
Yeah. It's the most fun I've ever had writing. I am having an absolute blast with Kat. Part of that is that Kat is one of the funniest people I know. And I don't want to like toot my own horn, but I think I'm one of the funniest people that she knows. And so together in a room, we're like
Oh
two
my gosh, you
clowns
are
with like
unstoppable.
we're like two clowns with a pile of toys that all make noise. Like that's what we are, is we're like loose in a toy store and we have like too much money in the toy store. It's kind of how it feels. Um, but our process is really weird. Basically, the way this came to be is I had this idea for this book years ago. It was while I was assisting an agent and I was an intern, and I was getting a lot of cozy mystery projects in the inbox that were all kind of boring. They were like, here's a person in a place. She's got a mom.
Yeah.
She likes tea. And it was just kind of like nothing was happening and
Mhm.
nobody was doing anything interesting and nobody was funny and nobody was a vampire, you know? And I was just
Nobody was a
riffing on this
vampire.
concept.
Huge
I was
problem.
like, I think that somebody should write a cozy mystery about vampires. And it should be kind of funny and
Mhm.
campy, and like the vampires could be married and they could have a bed and breakfast. And I was just chatting with the agent about it, and I came up with the title Dead and Breakfast. And she was so furious at me that she was so mad because she thought it was so funny, and I was already represented by a different agent. And she was like, "You better write that book because I want to read it." And I was just like, "Man, okay, I guess." But I didn't have any sort of like I didn't really know the mystery genre
Mhm.
as a writer. I it didn't have those chops. And years later, I was chatting with Kat about it, and I told her this idea that I had a billion years ago that I'll never work on because I don't know what to do with it. And she was mad at me that I had come up with it and she hadn't. And we had this little moment of like, well, what if we co-wrote it?
Mhm.
And suddenly it unlocked. It was like,
So
it was
cool.
this idea that was in a box in my mind that was waiting for me to understand something about it in order to write it. And it turns out that the key was Kat. She came along and was like, here, I can help you plot this. And I was like, great, let's do it. We got on the phone, we plotted out the entire novel in one sitting.
Beautiful.
And it was like, we have the plot, we have the characters, we're good to go. And we had been riffing on these characters for like a year before we sat down to do this. We were just like, every once in a while, she would text me or I would text her with like a little joke about Arthur and Sal and something
Mhm.
that they do that's silly. And we ended up just it was one of the easiest writing processes I've ever gone through. It was right after I had left my like full-time job.
Mhm.
Not wisely. Uh, this was a situation where I had no contracts lined up for publishing, but I was so burned out I couldn't stay. It was a couple years into the pandemic, and I was just like, I got nothing left. So I
Yeah.
left the job, and luckily, two things happened in quick succession. We wrote Death and Breakfast,
Mhm.
and I got that first Life is Strange book deal. So I was able to keep it going, which was great. But the writing of Dead and Breakfast was so healing. It was so fun.
Yeah.
We just had such a good time with each other. And our process is very strange. And it took us about 2 chapters to figure out that we needed to do something different with our process than what
Okay.
we were expecting. So most of the people I know who co-write write dual POV, 2 characters. One of them writes one character, one of them writes the other character. And we realized pretty quickly that our the way that we write first drafts is completely different.
Oh.
Kat writes a very like stripped back skeleton first draft, and she
Hmm.
does it very quickly. And I write a tortured perfectionist first draft that has to be right the first time.
Hmm.
And I do it still pretty quickly, but like a little slower. So what was happening was she was like writing a chapter, and then I was writing a chapter that was like 2 drafts later, is what it felt like. It was
Okay.
it was really weirdly mismatched. And we also realized that we wanted to write a book with one main character. We didn't want to write dual POV. Arthur and Sal didn't need to. Sal is so much funnier without a POV. I think that a Sal POV could work for like a short story or a novella,
Hmm.
but I think for an entire novel, someone would come over and just kill us. Like
You
it
just do
would be
like
too much,
outtakes, like somewhere, like just
right?
here's like 3 chapters from his point of view.
I don't think we ever got that far.
Okay.
I really don't. I think we got like 2 chapters deep and we
Or
went,
do like
no.
the Stephanie Myers thing where like in 5 years you just release the entire series
Yeah.
again, but all from his.
I really think a like backstory
Yes.
about like how their relationship came to be would be really funny from his perspective because
I love
he has a revisionist history about it. And I think with interjections from Arthur could be very fun. But we'll see. But we ended up writing one POV,
it.
and instead of trading chapters, we kind of figured out like, okay, what are our strengths during the drafting process?
Hmm.
And how can we make this work for us in like a really effective way?
Yeah.
And what we realized is that Kat's way of drafting and my way of drafting are not antithetical. They're actually they come together really nicely if Kat writes the first draft and I write the second draft
That totally makes sense.
concurrently. So instead of, Kat doesn't go away for like 2 months and write a first draft, and then I go away for 2 months and write the
Yeah.
second draft. She writes the first draft chapter by chapter and sends them to me as she's writing them
Mhm.
by like noon my time because she's on the East Coast. So she writes those, sends them to me. I get it by like noon. And in the afternoon, I sit down with the same chapter and I rewrite it.
That's so cool.
I write on top of her. And this
Mhm.
only works because we respect each other so much and we've worked together for so many years with
Yeah.
mentorship. And like I've read so many of her books and she's read so many of mine. This is the kind of process that like you can't do this with everyone. A lot of writers would be really offended if you wrote over the top of them. And I try to be so careful about it. I do it with track changes on so she can see what
Mhm.
I've changed, if there's anything she's like really wants to fight for. But the reality is that we usually talk through everything that needs to happen. We have phone calls where we talk through the chapters, what's going to happen in the chapter, all the beats we know we want to hit. And she kind of does this stripped back version, and
Mhm.
I come in and I fill in where she's left space for me. So I'm filling out description, I'm filling out dialogue, I'm adding jokes, I'm creating like scaffolding for the scene that like helps to do transitions. Like I'm usually doubling the word count by the time I send it back to her. And so then the next morning she gets that one and reads it and gets like, "Oh, this is done."
Yeah.
And then she gets to write the next one. So it's just this cycle of
That's
like
so
it
cool.
just within the same day or two,
Hmm.
we will have a new chapter and I will have revised it and sent it
Yeah.
back. So we do 2 drafts right on top of each other, just go in. And by the
That's
time
amazing.
we're done with draft 2 because
Yeah.
we've basically done 2 drafts. And it's really polished.
Hmm.
We have barely needed to edit. Um, both of those books really did not need like a
Yeah.
lot of editing. It was kind of like a couple scenes here and there, a couple of emotional beats, and it was off.
No, that
So,
sounds ideal. Like I wish that I just had somebody to take like that bare bones skeleton draft out of my head and put it on the page
Yeah.
because I want
Because
to do like the stage you're at. That's what I want
yeah,
to do. I don't,
yeah.
I hate,
So
I struggle with
I
drafting.
do it for myself to an extent
Hmm.
when I'm writing books for myself, which is with this synopsis. I write a
Okay.
really narrative, voice-driven synopsis
Hmm.
that gets into the meat of like everything that the story is going to really hold on to.
Yeah.
And I will write a couple of chapters in advance. I will do like a bullet pointed list of here's what I need to accomplish in this scene. But I only do it a couple of scenes in advance. I don't do the whole thing at once
Okay.
because I don't I don't know how those scenes are going to play out until I write them. Because while I'm writing them, characters might say things differently than I planned. There might be a different emotional beat that I end up heading toward. So much of it is instinct driven. And I do this sort of like skeleton, bare bones, bullet pointed list of like, these are the events, these are the emotions,
Mhm.
these are the main things I know I want to hit in this chapter. And Kat and I do that on the phone with each other
Yeah.
when we're outlining. And then she sends me like a real draft, which is nice. But I do try to replicate that a little bit for myself with
Yeah.
my note taking while I'm outlining like chapter by chapter. But it's really I try to stay like one or two chapters ahead of myself with that, and that's it. And I
Mhm.
do it at the end of my writing day. I
No,
outline what's coming
yeah.
next.
Yeah. So that way, like the next day, you already know, like, okay, this is what I'm diving into. And
I have something on the page
yeah, and
that I can
it's
look
kind of
at.
like
Yeah.
going through the back of your head, just processing while you garden and do your
Yes,
life. So yeah. No,
exactly.
that sounds really cool. I'm really excited for Summer Coven. So can we request it on NetGalley yet? I know it comes out
Yes,
August
yes, it
25th.
is on NetGalley and it is on Edelweiss for anyone who is looking for advanced copies. I believe that there will be physical arcs. I don't know where they will be
Where or
or
when?
who's getting them. I certainly don't have them yet, so we'll
Well,
see.
fingers crossed that they show up at BookCon. That would be really
That
cool.
would be really cool.
I
I
mean,
have no idea. Um, but if anyone wants there to be a third one, please buy it
yes,
because we
yes,
would really like it if our publisher would buy more books from us, but we don't know
yeah.
if that will happen.
Rosie
So
has more puns to write, so
I have more puns. I do. I have some really important jokes for the third book that if they don't get to see the light of day, I will be very sad.
so will I. So
I've been building toward one very specific joke since we started these books, and it is a book three joke.
it's like a slow burn, but for puns.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's a couple that are just so specific, like we have to get there in the time. Like there I think there's two jokes that can't come to fruition until book three, and I'm so desperate to tell them, but who knows? We may or may not get a book three.
We better get
So
it. We better get it. Scribblers,
yeah.
go buy this book. So you also recently signed with a new agent,
Hmm.
and you are far from the first person that I know who has changed agents at some point in their career. And I think sometimes that agent-author relationship gets really muddled.
Hmm.
What tips can you give us to remind writers to keep like their focus on their career as they approach querying rather than just aiming for someone to sell their book?
Yeah. That's something that I think is so important. My first round, like when I first started in this industry and I went out querying, I really just wanted somebody who would sell the book. I didn't know what I wanted out of an agent. I didn't know what I wanted out of that relationship. Um, and now I am almost, I think, I think 9 years since I signed with an agent for the first time. And I've definitely grown in my understanding of the industry, of like what I need. Um, it's definitely something that's a learning process.
Yeah.
And something that I would say is, all the usual advice of like, look up the agents that you might want to work with and don't just send to any old agent. Definitely be careful. Look at, who they are, what they represent, if they've sold anything, all that. I will say that like I have enormous respect for my first agent.
Mhm.
She was wonderful, and I'm not going to get into like the details of why that ended,
Yeah.
but I looking back, I would still sign with her that first time. And when I signed with her, she did not have any book deals. I was her first. And I took an enormous leap of faith. So I don't want to say like don't ever sign with anyone who's untested. Don't ever sign in with anyone who doesn't have deals. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. She has a very impressive career and an impressive roster now.
Mhm.
Um, What I will say is don't feel so indebted to your first agent that you can't leave, that you don't feel like you can leave if you need something different. That being said, one thing that I think is just really important, and this has never been an issue for me, but I have seen it be an issue for a lot of friends, is that you should never be afraid of your agent. Um, there are agents out there who are a little scary, who are really powerful, and that's not a bad thing. But you, as the client, should never be in a position where you're afraid to email your agent, where you're
Mhm.
afraid to reach out, you're afraid to
Ask
ask a
those questions.
question.
Yeah.
Those should not be thoughts that are going through your mind. If your agent is making you feel that way, that's a problem. Um,
Yeah.
this is really difficult to manage because when you are a querying writer, they hold all the power. Hold the power. They hold their dreams in your hands.
Yes.
They can reject you and say, no, thank you,
Mhm.
go elsewhere.
Somebody else feels differently. It's a subjective industry.
And it's a subjective industry, yes, but
Yes.
it can feel
I
really
got paid
hard.
today.
Yeah, it's so tough. It's
I'm
so
like,
tough.
happy Monday.
Yeah. And it's just like it can be so tough to switch gears
Yeah.
from you are this person who holds my dreams in your hands and I am so afraid of what might be or I don't want to bother you. I don't want to do the wrong thing. There's so much querying advice out there that's like etiquette around querying that's so specific. And I will say this, any agent who holds that against you is not worth their
No.
time. It's not worth it. Now, following instructions is important. Do follow instructions
Yeah, there's a
because
balance
you
there.
might end up in the spam folder. That's really what it's about. If you don't follow instructions, like if your synopsis ends up being a page and like one line over, they're not going to stop reading your synopsis at the end of that page.
No.
If you send them a 20-page synopsis, they might hunt you for sport. But, if you are following the spirit of their instructions, it's not going to make or break anything. The first time I queried, I remember feeling like so nervous. I was addressing everyone as like Mr. and Ms.
Yes.
and all of that. And this time around, I was like, if they don't like it, if they don't like me addressing them by their first name, we're not a good fit. Like, that's not the relationship I want to have. And so going into querying, and I did this from the perspective of like I have an enormous amount of privilege as someone with a track with a backlist. I have
Mhm.
a track record. Um, I'm not showing up as like an untested, no one that they would know. I'm showing up as like, hey, I've been in this industry for 9 years. Here's what I've done. Here's what I think we could do together.
Yeah.
It's a very different conversation. But
Yeah.
that being said, I didn't want to approach that conversation super formally only to then turn around if they offered and be like, okay, so now we're buddies and we're working on this together and we're
Yeah.
partners in this industry. What are we doing? I didn't want that to be like that. If
Yeah. No,
you're,
you have to find somebody with the same vibe. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't want to be working with someone who I was going to feel nervous about
Mhm.
communicating with. And yeah, so to kind of take that energy with you, these people that you're communicating with, they're people. They are people that you could potentially end up working with.
Mhm.
You don't need to address them as your majesty. You don't need to like walk on eggshells around them.
Yeah.
Yes, they are important and powerful in some ways, but they are just like us eventually, at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's
They
a
have kids.
partnership. It
They
has to be a
have,
partnership.
yeah, and they have lives and they make mistakes and they have other things going on. They're not all knowing, all seeing beasts of
Yeah.
publishing. They are people. And if you can treat them like that, it can go a long way toward making that transition easier when you go from being a querying writer to being an agented writer.
Excellent advice. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, writing, as we know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You got to keep going, all those revisions. And that takes a special kind of dedication. How do you keep your eye on the prize and keep writing, not just through the ups and downs of publishing, but amidst all of the horrors that have been the past few years?
Yeah. Um, I don't know that I do it well, is what I will say. I'm not sure that I'm not like a shining example of this necessarily. The horrors do get me down.
Mhm.
I do consume an outrageous amount of fan fiction right now because of the horrors, and
Yes.
what do you got to do to get a little dopamine in here? But I will say the best piece of advice I was ever given in this industry was to diversify your hobbies.
Yeah.
When you go from being a hobbyist writer to being a professional writer, there's something that happens to your source of self-worth.
Yeah.
Um, when you are a hobby writer, telling people that you're a writer, talking about writing, doing the writing, that's all something that feeds into your like, I created something, and that's
Mhm.
something cool that I did while I'm going to my day job that's soul sucking. I did, the X amount of words today, and that's something to be to be celebrated because I went to my soul sucking job today.
Mhm.
But when you go from doing that as this like hobby thing that you tell people about
Yeah.
to it being a more professional space, whether or not you have a day job, it becomes difficult to balance, I think.
Mhm.
There's a certain amount of, if your self-worth is tied to your royalty report, um, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Emotionally, you're going to struggle with that because all of a sudden it's a number rather than a feeling. And it only comes twice a year, and
Yes.
that number is often disappointing. And
Yes.
even if that number is really good, it might still suddenly feel disappointing the next time.
Hmm.
So I was told to diversify my hobbies and specifically pick hobbies that I could not monetize.
Ooh.
Pick a hobby that you can't monetize that cannot turn into a professional job. Pick something that you're bad at and do it all the time.
Yeah.
Don't feel like this is something you have to be the best at. Don't feel like you have to compete at it. Pick something that's going to give you joy, that you derive you get joy out of it just by doing it.
That's so true.
And for me, those have been knitting, Dungeons and Dragons, and gardening. And these are all things that I do now as like a form of stress release.
Hmm.
These are hobbies that I have that I do with my friends. Um, I love gardening, especially because you plant something and then you watch it grow, and it grows every day, and things change about it every day. Having a plant is really good for this. I started doing this during the first year of the pandemic. I started gardening. And it was the year where we had really terrible fires in Oregon. And it was like the sky was orange.
Hmm.
And then it was gray for days, and ash was falling from the sky. It was dystopian. It was apocalyptic. Um, for a week, we did not see the sun in the middle of August, which is
Yeah.
usually our hottest month. And I didn't go outside because it was hard to breathe out there.
Hmm.
It was like I didn't want to go out there. I wasn't going to do that. So my plants were out there by themselves without any sun,
Oh no.
and I thought they were dead. I thought they were dead. I for sure thought they were dead. It was dark outside all the time because of
Hmm.
the ash. And on, I think it was like the sixth or seventh day of all of that, it started to clear. And I went back out there, and my tomato plants were still alive and they were still thriving. And it was this moment of even after the darkness, you
Yep.
still have life, you still have growth. Nature finds a way.
Yes, it does.
And the next year, my garden popped off. It was incredible because the ash had fertilized the ground. And it
Hmm.
was this like wild metaphor that I was able to use for like kind of like how to handle creative slumps.
Yes.
But that was really special. And I've had a couple of other moments like that with gardening that have felt so specifically um, targeted to like creativity. And
Hmm.
one of those is when I was planting my garden, the guy at the garden store told me that it was really important to also plant flowers for the
Yes. Because they
pollinators.
distract the pests and things like
They
that.
distract the pests and then they bring the pollinators.
Hmm.
And I could not wrap my head around this. I was like, what do you mean? I don't want to grow flowers. Flowers don't do anything. Like they don't produce any kind of vegetable that I can eat. Why would I grow flowers?
Right.
And they were like, well, the marigolds they'll bring ladybugs, which
Hmm.
eat aphids. So you want those. And it was like, oh, I had never considered that. So I talk about companion planting when it comes to flowers and produce
Hmm.
in your writing. And you can have projects that are to pay the bills. This is the book you're writing, try to get it published, but also have your flowers, which are the things that you do that support that. Whether that is writing something else that's just for you, or these other hobbies that will help to create an ecosystem around that thing that you want to have production from, that's healthier and happier and just
Yeah.
generally pretty. So
Yeah. No, that's so
that's
smart.
my soapbox.
Yeah, no, that is an excellent soapbox to have. And I agree. You got to find those other things.
Yeah.
That's so, so important. So what is next? Can you give us any like insider intel on any projects, or is it all
Ooh, what can I
tight-lipped?
say? Um, well, I have 3 books out this year, so
Yes.
that's wild.
Okay, so you
I
have
can say
being Arrow,
I
right?
have Being Arrow out in May. I
And
have
Summer
Summer
Coven
Coven out
and
in
The Life is
August, and
Strange.
then I have another Life is Strange
I felt
book.
like this was a
That is
quiz for me. I'm like, can I name all three books
yeah,
that are about to come out?
yeah. That new Life is Strange book has been under wraps. Kind of. It got announced last summer,
Hmm.
but we haven't been able to share much about it.
Yeah.
A cover and some like more official like description of the book will be
Mhm.
releasing soon, I think. I haven't seen it if it
Yeah.
exists, so hopefully we'll see something. But I'm really excited about it. It's one of those things where like while I was writing it, I was like, is this anything? And then I
Yeah.
turned it in and everyone was like, no notes, this is great. So we'll see if the fans agree, if they like it.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm quite proud of some of the cheese puns I snuck into it. There was a
Amazing.
one edit from my editor that was this cheese pun doesn't make any sense, and I said that, and I replaced it with 5 new ones. So hopefully that goes over well. But yeah, so yeah, I've got 3 books out this year, and then I don't know what will be coming the next year. I
Mhm.
can say that right now it does look like I will have a book out next year. I can't
Awesome.
say anything about it. I had a very cool phone call about it last week,
Mhm.
and we'll see what happens.
That is awesome. I do love that about publishing is like so many people are like, I have this thing and that's it. Like you
Yeah,
can't
I
do
can't.
anything else.
I
And I love
legitimately
it for
cannot
you
say
guys.
anything about it. I have signed
Yeah.
NDAs, so
But I also
um,
love when I get to be on the inside of that. So like I know about things and I'm like, oh, I know what could be
yes, it's
happening.
so fun.
And I love it.
I love to know about secrets. Yeah, there are different tiers of secrets within publishing, I think. There's like secrets that are like I haven't revealed this on main yet, but
Mhm.
I can tell my friends. And then
Yeah.
there's like secrets that are like I don't know what's happening, and so I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not
Yeah.
telling anyone. And then there's secrets where you're like I signed a contract that,
Something's
Disney gets to
happening.
hunt me for sport if I
Yes.
say anything. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I love having like one of my critique partners. I'm like, okay, like
Yes.
tell me everything. I want all the details. So
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I'm holding on to a couple of secrets right now. Hopefully I will say I was gonna say hopefully I get to reveal them soon, and I there's no way I'm not gonna
yep.
get to reveal them soon. It's
Publishing
gonna be months.
yeah, publishing is a weird schedule. I know
Yeah.
somebody who signed and finished like turned their book in like 5 years ago and
Yeah.
it still hasn't been announced.
Yes.
And I'm like, what is happening? Like publishing.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's wild stuff like that
Yeah.
happens all the time. I feel
Yeah.
like there have certainly been books where I have done the entire editorial process
Yep.
before they got announced. And then there have been books where they got announced and I didn't know they were being announced, and I had had no discussion with my publisher about announcing them. And it was like, "Oh, I haven't even started working on this yet. Interesting that we're saying anything to the public about it."
I should be doing that now. Thank you for the heads up.
Yeah, okay, I
Yeah.
guess.
It's
But yeah,
wild.
it's a weird ecosystem, and it is, yeah, it's strange because I feel like we will know about stuff that's happening years down the line and we can't
Mhm.
talk about it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. And
yep.
nothing. All
But yeah, I will say I got something coming out next year. It looks like I get to keep having a career, so
I
that's
like this.
nice.
I love this for you. I'm excited. More Rosiee Thor books to buy and add to my collection. So, are you ready for your lightning round questions?
Let's go.
All right. Number one, favorite thing in your garden?
Ooh, absolutely tomatoes. I love sun gold tomatoes. They're my favorite to grow.
Are those sweet?
They're like, yeah, they're kind of on the sweet side. They're little orange ones. They're like
Okay.
cherry tomatoes, but they're orange in
Yeah,
color. They are very different when you grow them versus when you buy them at the store.
I would believe that.
Yeah.
I tried to grow tomatoes 2 years ago,
Hmm.
and I think I must have done it wrong because like they grew and I had a tomato and I ate it. And I'm like, this is the worst tomato I've ever eaten.
Oh
So
no.
I don't know what I did with the soil or I messed something up.
Yeah, the soil health really matters with
Yes.
tomatoes. There are certain soils that will be calcium deficient. And if they're calcium deficient, then they get end blossom rot and it becomes a whole thing. But cherry
Yeah,
tomatoes can grow in a lot of different soils and they're okay.
yeah,
So
not in mine, apparently. They were
yeah,
so bad. Um,
I'm sorry.
it's okay. Live and learn. This is why I stick to flowers. I don't do fruits or vegetables anymore. I'm just like flowers only. That's it.
Fair enough.
Question two, your favorite pun that you have written.
I have one that I have written in a book that I'm working on right now
Okay, so you
that
can't reveal
I
it.
I don't know. I will reveal it. It's
Oh,
mine. I get to do it. It's not like under
yeah.
NDA or anything. I'm working on it right now. It's it's something I'm having a really good time with, and I've made up a series of cozy mysteries set at a Jewish deli that exist within the world of the story.
Yes.
And one of them is called Risk It for the Brisket. And I think that's so funny. And I thought of that joke. It was like on Christmas. I was writing at my partner's family's house. And I thought up that joke and I like belly laughed. I thought I was so funny.
Please,
So
I need you
anyway,
to write these because I remember you talking about them the other week, and
yeah,
there was like 3 or 4 of them, and I'm like, you need to write every single one of these.
yes,
I don't know,
yes.
on a Substack or a Patreon. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
People will pay
the
for this,
series that
Rosie.
I have and they're just like books that exist within the book. Like
Yeah,
they're not
yeah.
ideas. I don't have story ideas for these. But I have Risk It for the Brisket, A Rye for a Rye, and Innocent Until Proven Gefilte, like gefilte fish. And
Would
I
read.
also think like Schmear Campaign would be a really good one for like bagels, you
Yes.
know? There's
Yeah.
there's a lot in this subgenre that I think could exist.
You
So
can do this. You can do this.
yeah,
People
I
will
think there's a
buy
lot
it.
I could do
There's
with
a
that.
market for it.
Yeah.
All right, question three. Favorite video game that you never get tired of playing?
Ooh, probably Hades and
Okay.
Hades 2. I feel like those really hit. I can replay them
Well,
forever.
fascinating. What are you this is my fourth question. Sorry, I did not introduce this properly. Fourth question. What are
Uh-huh.
you reading right now that we should all add to our TBRs?
Okay, I'm reading it right now. I haven't finished it, so I can't say anything for sure, but I do think everyone should add it to their TBRs just based on what I know about it. And
Okay.
it's a novella. It's called Boy with Accidental Dinosaur.
Okay.
And it's a Tor.com novella by Ian McDonald. It's sort of like Mad Max Fury Road with dinosaurs.
Okay. And it's a
It's like a
novella, so like that's a quick read. I like it.
Yeah, it's like a dinosaur rodeo with motorcycles. I don't know how else to explain it.
I think that's all it needs. Like
I
that's
don't
total.
I have this habit of my favorite way to read a book is to not know anything about it, but to
Mhm.
have someone come at me with like such an emphatic recommendation that I have
Yeah.
to read it. And the past couple of years I have a couple of friends who are in like the book reviewing business who I will just ask them, I'll be like, what's a book that I should absolutely read but look up nothing about? And they will give me a title and I will go read it. And without fail, it will become one of my favorite books of the year.
Cool.
So like last year, that was Automatic Noodle was my one of my favorite books of the year. And I read it with absolutely no knowledge of what it was going to be
Yeah.
about. And then Blood Over Brighthaven was another one that
Okay.
got recommended to me by a bookseller. And I had no idea what it was when I started reading it. And I just kind of went and I was like, wow, that was fantastic.
Okay. I have three now. I
So
have 3 books. I'm
yeah,
excited about Accidental Noodle. Just vibes on
yeah.
the title and it alone. I'm sold.
Automatic Noodle is what it
Automatic.
was.
Sorry,
Yes.
automatic noodle.
Automatic Noodle. Another novella. But it
Yes.
was absolutely fantastic. I loved it.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Scribblers, you can find Rosie on Instagram at Rosiee Thor or by going to their website, rosiethor.com. Those will be linked down in the descriptions. Rosie, as always, it has been an absolute delight chatting with you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so much for having me.
no this like I've learned so much and my mind is grown and you have made a rather not great Monday fabulous again. So
Oh,
thank
good. I'm so glad.
all right, Scribblers, you know the drill. I need you to hit the like button. I need you to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.